last time we went fishing 3 summers ago, he he walked over to me and he said, "Thanks for coming fishing with me." I said, "It's not a problem, Grandpa." He said, "I learn something new every day." And he said, "I learn something every time I come fishing with you." I was like, "I appreciate that, Grandpa." Then he started tearing up a little bit. I guess he knew then what I know now, that that probably was the last time we would ever get to go fishing. And he said, "I love you. And I want you to know that." Towards the end of January, my grandmother called my parents' house, and she said that Henry, my grandfather, wasn't doing too well. And she talked to my mother for a minute, and my mom started crying, and she wanted to talk to Henry. So she talked to him for a minute, and she started crying. And I asked if I could, talk to him, because I knew, that'd be the last time. I knew it'd be the last time I ever got a chance to talk to him. And he got on the phone. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "Not too well." Yeah, I told him, yeah, kind of figured that. And he said, "It don't look like I'm gonna make it much longer." And I was like, "I understand that, Grandpa." I was like, "I'll be up there as soon as I can to see you." I guess you can't get everything you wish. When we got there, family was there. And it was so surreal, like it didn't make any sense, So I don't ever remember going up there and, Grandpa and Grandma not being there. But Grandpa wasn't there. I mean, I wasn't sad. It was kind of selfish. I just wanted to see him again, talk to him for a minute. Them days are like a blur. We went to the calling that night, and seeing him in a casket, it just wasn't right. He's always making jokes and funny faces, always having a good time. Yeah, he got mad, but make a couple jokes, he'd be all right. And he was laying there in that casket when I walked into the funeral home, and it just didn't make no sense to me. Everybody was crying, and I guess everybody misses him. I went up there, by myself, and I stood there for a minute, after everybody left. I just looked at him. I touched his hands, and they're so cold. Felt like leather. They didn't quite feel real. I just told him, hope you're happier wherever you're at than you were here. Because they had him hooked up with respirators and he couldn't walk far. I guess I just wouldn't want to live like that. But I know that night, I slept on the floor. And all night I kept waiting to hear them footsteps coming up the hall. Or some clanging around in the kitchen in the morning about sunup. Making coffee or, I guess just making enough noise to wake me up. But those footsteps never came. I remember walking down into the basement where he used to crack walnuts all the time. That was one of his things to do. He loved to can foods and crack walnuts and work in his garden. And I just remember sitting down there looking at his walnut shells on the floor and his big bucket of walnuts and thinking, who's gonna crack these things now? And I catch myself listening for cracking walnuts and popping lids on canned raspberry jelly and the smell of Old Spice, the sound of footsteps walking down a hallway, the sound of his voice. I listen all the time, but they never come. So when the funeral came around, he was incinerated, but they stuck him in a blue marble tomb, and they were gonna bury him under the ground in the Dublin cemetery. I remember being bitter cold. That wind would cut you in half. It had to have been negative 15 degrees outside. They had the 7-gun salute out there. Them gunshots, they ring in your ears. They ring in your ears now. But they buried him out there. My grandmother gave like a sandwich bag size full of ashes to my mom. And my mom went out into the garden when we got back from the funeral. And she spread the ashes in the garden. And she said, that's what you wanted. She said, I did that for you, Dad. That's what you wanted.